Hello, and welcome to this Think webinar. Think is an independent community of Canon Solutions America production print customers, solution partners, and print industry experts. Led by some of the most successful inkjet service providers in the country, it provides a forum for members to network, gain knowledge, discuss common challenges, and share best practices. This is a listen-only webinar. However, we encourage you to submit questions through the GoToWebinar control panel, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on thinkforum.com in just a few days. Now, for today's webinar, I would like to introduce our presenter, Kate Dunn, Director at Keypoint Intelligence. Kate will be taking you on a whirlwind tour that will help you identify growth opportunities for your business in 2018, taking a look into one of the Building Your Bottom Line series white papers. This white paper series is going to be three-part, and it's going to be on www.thinkforum.com. It's focusing on growth opportunities, effectively promoting your business in a digital world, and then finally selling strategies for success. So with that, I would like to welcome Kate to the webinar. Welcome, Kate.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, Andrea. Let's get started. As you know, Keypoint Intelligence, InfoTrends, we're famous for our data. So we did a survey back at the end of 2016, which was the best practices of high-performance print sales organizations. And just to kind of tell you that print providers, print service providers of all sizes are really focused on growth. It's really how they execute those strategies that will mean success for some and could mean also declining or flat sales for those who have trouble on the execution side. So today we're going to start out by talking about what the growth opportunities are in today's market, and then a simple way for you to think about your opportunities and ways to grow for your business. And then I'll end with summary and recommendations. And as always, I've got a few tools built into today's presentation to kind of help you start the thought process and the beginning of the planning process. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to talk about is really where we're seeing the growth in today's market. So what we're seeing, our 2017 research study in search of business opportunities, finding the right prospects, we surveyed over 700 enterprises employing 500 or more people. Those organizations reported that 29% of their total communication spending is still on print. Although respondents are expecting that to continue to decline in the next couple of years, as they have to spread their budgets out across other channels, print is still the largest component of their spend and will remain so moving into the next 2 years. Now, another key element is, I want to move. There we go. All right, so personalization is another key element of growth. What we're finding finally is that marketers are really sure that there's a clear correlation between personalization and response rates. We asked them in the same study, what is the primary driver behind wanting to personalize your customer communications? And a full 31% said we see a correlation between personalization and response rates. So what we're seeing is as more and more marketers do that, they're going to need to do it efficiently and at a rapid speed to capture the opportunity that exists in the market today. Now, those other channels are still in play. We asked them also how many different types of media does your company expect to use for a typical customer communication initiative or a campaign, and the mean was 3.1. So it kind of goes into what we used to say in the old days, are you leaving money on the table? Because these other channels are going to be engaged as well as the print channel, and if you can participate in those other channels, it will give you a way to grow your company. So that's an important aspect of consideration when you think about how you can grow. Now, one of the reasons that we're seeing that connection between print and the digital channels is that print does really help in driving response and conversion rates. So this question was asked, what your typical response rates are comparing single-only channels like social media, email, and mobile only, and what happens when you add print into that mix. So this is probably my favorite slide in the entire deck. So you guys, when you get this, it'll be something that you can use to start really compelling conversations with your customers. When you add print to an initiative that was primarily being executed with social media only, the lift or the improvement in response is 15%. When print is added to an email campaign, the lift is 19%. And when print is added to a mobile campaign, the lift is 14%. So huge opportunity for customers and marketers who are looking for ways to increase those engagement rates, those response and conversion rates. And clearly the best opportunity is when at the individual level you're using the right channels for that initiative and getting the right message into the hands of the audience using the channels that they prefer to interact with. So you can see the largest opportunity is when the channels are all working together. Now, another area for growth is the use of color. Overall, impressions are growing at about 2.6% rate, combined annual growth. Color is expected to grow, though, by 9.4%, with that growth slightly accelerating towards the end of the forecast period ending in 2021. We're also seeing a steady decrease in black and white volumes, although that's not necessarily at the company level. That is probably coming because there's a decline in the install base. But if you're looking for ways to grow, color volume is growing. So your ability to produce that in conjunction with the speed that the market demands today and using personalization are key aspects of a growth strategy. And we see that when we look at the growth of digital impressions. So that need for speed, that need for personalized communications is really transferring into a growth in digital impressions. So the combined annual growth rate from 2016 to 2021 is forecasted at 12%. So that's a great growth rate. We're seeing a lot of growth on the inkjet side, specifically for those reasons: speed to market, personalization, adding color. But we also are seeing that on the electrophotography side as well. So just digital in general is growing. Now, once you know that digital is growing, you want to look at the fastest growing digitally printed applications, and this is by absolute page volume growth. So you can see by some of those top ones, books, that's a lot of offset transfer that's now being transferred to digital technologies. But then you start to see in the things below that, catalogs, brochures, magazines, posters, signage, even corrugated packaging, direct mail, labels, really where we're starting to see things transferring from traditional manufacturing into digital, and also the addition of color and the addition of the personalization or the versioning into the mix is helping to grow those applications. Now, another key component of this is that automation is not only something that's important to us in our industry, which is key. We have to be able to produce these products at a price that the market will bear. So streamlining your workflows and automating your processes are critical to your success as a print service provider. But a big key takeaway here is that they're also really important for your customers. 59% of workers say that they could save 6 or more hours per week by automating the repetitive aspects of their work. 70% of managers say manual processes leave less time for strategic initiatives. So what that tells you is that your clients, your customers are looking for ways that they can streamline their processes as well, and automation is a key part of that. They need to get rid of repetitive tasks. They need to reduce the number of manual touches, reduce the number of labor hours that are needed to perform their vital work. And all of those initiatives are why we continue to see online print spending increase. So this question was, what percentage of your business's total print spend is or will be ordered via the internet? The mean is 7% annual growth. So we are forecasting that by the year 2019, 44% of print will be ordered via the internet. And that is largely because companies are trying to get rid of manual processes, repetitive tasks. So a key opportunity for growth in your company is now working with your customers to integrate those supply chains. integrate what their processes look like on their side with your processes on the manufacturing side to create new value. And that value is so substantial that it'll take you away from pricing pressures. So another key aspect of growth. So the big takeaways for, where are the growth opportunities in the market today? Digital print, clearly a growth driver. Sense engagement is a critical aspect for customers. Anything that increases the engagement of a piece of print and moves a customer into an interactive relationship is going to be key. So color, personalization, making things interactive. So linking the physical world and the digital world with things like NFC chips or augmented reality, or even just pearls and QR codes. All of those things bring those two channels together to drive response rates. Your customers, too, are also looking for ways that they can improve their own profitability and increase the time to or speed to market by streamlining processes. They want to reduce manual touches. They want to integrate their processes with their vendors and customers, and they see a dramatic need to reduce the manpower necessary to get these marketing initiatives out into the field and driving conversions and response and conversion. All right, so now let's look at ways that you can grow. I think a lot of times we make this a whole lot harder than it should be. Really, when you think about growing, there's some simple things that you can do. The first thing is sell more to existing customers, and we'll talk about that in a second. Another one is find customers who look like your best customers. You're already doing well with them. Find some more folks that look just like them. And then the third thing is, okay, how can I expand? Can I expand into adjacent markets? Can I find new markets? Can I expand my geography? So when you think about expansion, again, there are things that are more easier to do than other things. Obviously, moving into an adjacent market is going to be an easier strategy than opening up a brand new market, but we're going to talk about that now. So before you start to analyze what opportunities you have to move forward, I think it's always really important to know what your current strengths are. So being able to analyze your current business by what are the most profitable things that you're selling today, who are the best types of customers for your company, why do they buy from you, and then to stop after you've thought through that and think, how is this going to change in the future? Those critical trends of adding color, of doing things faster, of reducing steps and manpower so that you can go faster but also cut costs out of it, the ability to integrate physical channels like print with digital channels, all those things are going to create opportunities and also risk potentially for you moving into the future. So once you figure out where you're strong today, then you want to actually sit down and think about, how is the future going to impact where you're strong today? And I want you to focus really clearly on your differentiation. I love this slide. It comes from the Corporate Executive Board. But when you think about where you're strong today, a big element of that is, why do people buy from you? Why do your customers buy from you? What value are you delivering to them? Because this study I find just super important when you think about that differentiation, which is only 14% of customers see a real difference between the suppliers that call on them that they would pay for. Now, they may like you better, they may think you're closer, they may think you're a little bit faster, maybe your quality's a little bit better, but all in all, they're not willing to pay more for that. So that's really what we want. We want those things that people are willing to pay more for. So what is that differentiation strategy? I work with a lot of print services providers, and honestly, they're just not clear on what that differentiation strategy is. They'll tell me it's the quality, they'll tell me it's their people, they'll tell me that they have competitive pricing, but if everyone is saying that, then that is not your differentiation. So if you find yourself struggling with that, I love this book. It's called Creating Competitive Advantage by Janie L. Smith. It's older, but it is a great book, and it's going to ask you some really good questions about your business, to try to be able to identify the value that you're delivering to your customers, and to help you see if there's ways to quantify that value so it can be easily explained to new prospects. It'll help you think through maybe something that's unique about your processes that make you different from your competitors. It'll also help you understand if you have a unique culture that has value to your customers and what types of customers might are a good fit for that culture. And then it'll even ask you to think about your sales process, and is the way that you actually sell part of your differentiation. So it's a great book, and I recommend it highly, and it'll really help you begin to think about, what is it that we're really doing that's unique out there that that has our customers buying from us and that we can capitalize on moving forward. So I built you a little worksheet. You'll get this when you get the deck. So you can kind of start to think about, okay, what does this mean to me? What are my risks? What are my opportunities? And what is that unique value that I can deliver? So you want to kind of break it down into your most profitable markets. So if you have any specific markets that you're calling on, what are your most profitable customers, your most profitable applications, and your differentiation strategy, and how is that going to change over the next 2 to 3 years? In that change, will there be new risks that you need to consider? Are there new opportunities that change will create for you? And is that differentiation going to stay the same, or are there additional things now or additional places that you can add unique value? It's a great exercise to go through with your senior leadership team and even key parts of your company, because you might not always see all those opportunities yourself. The next thing you want to do is, if we're going to focus on growing our business, we do want to focus on profitable segments. So, dissect that existing customer base. That's what helps you identify where you're strong today. And we want to focus any growth efforts on places where you make money and not those where you're seeing intense pricing pressure or you don't have a differentiated value. And while you're at this exercise, it's a good time to think about what your risks are. You want to be able to sell more to existing customers. So you need to understand what you sell to them today, and then be able to think of things that you can produce today, that you sell today, that you're not selling to them, and then figure out how to sell to them. It's safe to think that if they should be buying it, but they're not buying it from you, they're buying it from another competitor who's doing the same exercise, only back the other way. So you will have a higher probability of selling to an existing customer, but you need to understand, how they're doing things today and what competitors might be in play that they're using to get those things done. So when you do this analysis, it turns out into what we call white space analysis. And the easiest thing to do is basically list your customers, list all your products across the top banner, and all of your customers, or your top 20 that give you 80% of your volume, is a great place to start. And think, what are we selling them today, and where are we not selling them things that we could be selling them? So in this case, you see customer A has 3 distinct product lines, but they're not buying cross media, they're not buying large format vehicle graphics and other things like that. So it begins to kind of isolate for you, hey, where are these opportunities where we could sell more to our existing customers and capture that opportunity relatively easily. And it'll also cause you to protect your base, because it costs 5 times as much to attract a new customer as it does to keep an existing customer. Typically, the more you sell to an existing customer, the safer they are, the less risky they are. So going through this analysis will not only help you grow, but it also helps you kind of protect your flank and ensure that you're not going to get blindsided by a competitor who's trying to capture the work that you're doing for that particular customer. Then, so once you've isolated your opportunities for existing customers, then you want to think, okay, where can I find more customers that look like the best ones that I have today? And you're going to want to build that ideal customer profile. So what are the markets? How big are they? What are we trying to lead with in terms of products and services? Who's our best decision makers? Who should we be targeting? What kind of access level we need to be able to get to? Things like that are going to build out that ideal customer profile. And then you can analyze, append that existing data, purchase new data, and start to build out prospect lists actually for your sales team to go and target customers that are very similar to the customers where you're already doing well. I have this as part of your exercises here to get ready, and this is an example of an ideal prospect profile. So you'd start with the markets. Which markets do you want to focus on? You're going to then think about the geographies that you're targeting. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you can go everywhere in the U.S. or internationally, but some companies may be looking regionally or even in local markets. You want to identify the size of the companies that you're going after, either by revenue or employees. You want to be clear about the products that you're going to lead with. Where you have that unique value, or where you see a competitor who has a weakness, what's profitable for you, what creates stickiness with those clients. So those are considerations when you want to kind of isolate the products that you want to focus on. How much revenue do you want this client to drive for you? So we are looking for customers that can do hundreds of thousands of dollars with us annually, or we're looking for customers that can do, $50K or less with us annually. You get to develop that. And then what is the access? What's the access level that I need? Who are the typical decision makers that we call on, and can I get to them within my local market? So these are things you kind of the top half of this, you really absolutely do need to know. But then you can kind of get into some additional factors, because the more elaborate you build out this profile, the more efficient your sales and marketing initiatives can be. So you might want to think about structural factors, like, do they have centralized or decentralized buying? Maybe you like the centralized kind of approach where you have limited contacts, but you're working with them on a bunch of initiatives. Or maybe you like calling on a university where multiple arms within the university are making decisions. That's up to you, but you should know where you feel like you're strong so that you can analyze potential new opportunities. Flexible buying styles or formalized RFPs. Some companies are small, and handling formalized RFPs is a big pain in the neck. Other companies have gotten really good at that. So, understand where you fit and what you're looking for. And then there's environmental factors, like we're really good when companies are looking for innovation or thought leadership, or we're really good when it's a traditional buyer and we can help them shepherd through the process. Understand where your strengths are, isolate who you're targeting. And then lastly, maybe there's a situational aspect of this profile. So you do really well when there's been a change in leadership, or a company buys another company and you come in and help them get things cleared up. Or you're not good in a situation like that. You're better when it's a much more stable environment. The more clearly you can identify your best fits, the more efficient and effective your marketing and sales organization can be. Now let's talk about adjacent markets. So basically, adjacent market is a market that's similar to a market that you're in already, that has that's very similar. So for instance, higher education and nonprofit is adjacent, and vice versa. Typically, because it's a B2C audience, business to consumer, the applications and the engagement strategies are often very similar. Both use a lot of direct mail. And so, if you're in one, moving into the adjacent market makes a lot of sense. Manufacturing, if you're in manufacturing, maybe franchisors or people with other distributed models would be good, because typically it's a larger network of distributed users. They need customization. They need supply chain management typically, and the applications are similar. And then financial services and utilities can be adjacent markets. So they have, high demands for data, for fast turnaround. They're typically going to be direct mail or mailing applications inside of that. A lot of security concerns too would play into those markets. So your next thing, after you've captured the market from your existing customers and customers that look like your existing customers, then your next opportunity to grow is to move into adjacent markets. I put this slide in here too to help you understand where the growth is in those markets. So this is the top print spend by application. You can see the vertical markets listed there, and then what their top applications are. So, education, it's direct mail. followed by sales and marketing collateral, newsletters, and presentations. You can also look at the similarities here in terms of these markets. One of the key considerations is that the applications are similar and that you're familiar with those applications and what customers typically are looking to do to accomplish with those applications. So here would be your homework on the adjacent market side. What are the current markets you're in? What are the adjacent markets you want to target? What's the size of those markets? You know, do you need to tweak your differentiation, or will it just carry over to that additional market? And then, you know, if you're going to move into that, what resources are you going to need to do that? Typically, that you may be sales coverage, it may be marketing dollars to create awareness in that market, and there could be other things, subject matter expertise and things like that that you might want to add if you move into that market. The market, in order, it needs to pass the test, so it needs to have a size and purchasing power that makes sense for you to devote the resources to it. The segments must be large enough and profitable enough for you to serve. They have to be reachable, so typically this has to do with where the headquarters locations might be located. Can you get to them? Can you get to the decision makers? And then you also want to make sure that there's some unique reason for them to buy from you, or it ends up being, you know, a competition over price. So in summary here, focus on how the ways to help you grow is you want to look at helping your customers provide unique experiences to their customers. How do you help them give their customers a unique experience, help them be more effective, drive those response rates, drive the engagement rates, drive the conversion rates? And then also, how can you help them be as efficient as possible at doing that so that they get that speed to market? And then look for ways that you can streamline their internal processes, help them control costs, and also link that to what you're doing so that you have an overall creation of value, and that'll pull you out of having to compete on price. So my recommendations are, and Andrea's going to tell you in a second how to download the white papers, but use the forms I included in here to help you isolate your best opportunities to grow. Involve your team. It's a great team exercise. Your senior team and even mid-level managers or just employees may see things that you're not seeing. And then don't forget, Canon can help you with this. So with that, I will turn it back over to Andrea.
Thank you, Kate, for presenting and sharing your insights with us today. I wanted to let all of you know that for more information on this topic, there will be that white paper. So you can find that at www.thinkforum.com. If you're not a Think member, the membership is free and exclusive to Canon Solutions America production print customers. And you can go right on the website and sign up. Lastly, I just want to remind everyone that in 2018, our Think Conference will be from September 5th through the 7th in Boca Raton, Florida. So if you have not already done so, please visit the website to learn more about that. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Goodbye.